We're back. This is it.
We're back.
Season 2 of Devils Debate with Fabian Ardaya. I'm Dominic Cotroneo. It's great to have you with us. Well, we were together in Houston this past weekend.
Yeah,
that wasn't such a great time. But the city of Houston was fantastic. What were your impressions of Texas?
Oh, man, this is the second time I've been to Texas. The first time was for the Sun Bowl in El Paso. Obviously, very different cities. Houston, I didn't have high expectations for, but wow,
come on.
They wowed me. Sunday
birthdays.
after the game, I walked around the city. Actually walked from the place we were staying all the way around downtown. It was a great experience, and I loved Houston. It was a great chance to go out and check out a new place I hadn't been before.
Did you find James Harden?
I didn't. I was looking for him.
I know you
I
were.
went to Toyota Center.
I know you were. I went to an Astros game. Houston's my birthplace, so it's good to be back.
Yes.
But let's talk about the football now. The concerns are there any concerns that really popped up from that 38-17 loss to Texas A&M? The huge Advocare Texas kickoff. Everybody was hyped up. The Desert Ice uniforms were out there. A&M came out strong, and they never really, as far as the fans go, and then never really felt like they could lose that game. It felt like they were always in it. What are your concerns coming from there?
There's plenty, actually.
Yeah.
But most of them are fixable. Which is a big thing for ASU fans. But the biggest thing that concerned me, I know it was highlighted by the fact that you're facing Deshaun Hall and Myles Garrett on each end, but offensive tackles.
Yeah.
Mike Bercovici didn't have a chance to throw all game, didn't have a clean pocket for the most part, and when he did, his wide receivers didn't get separation. Part of it's on play calling, and part of it's on snap count, which Mike Norvell has accepted guilt for both cases.
Yeah, I don't know if he has to accept guilt for that, though.
Thing is, if you see that issue, especially with the snap count,
yeah,
and you notice that at halftime, you don't make an adjustment. How do you not make an adjustment in that situation?
Could they possibly make an adjustment, though? It was so loud in there, and I think Nick Kelly and Bercovici were definitely in some difficulty in communication.
I think it's just mixing it up, put a hard count, put a silent count in there. I know some of it's a little bit more developed, especially for a quarterback in his first year as a full-time starter, like Bercovici is, but Bercovici's been around Nick Kelly. I would think that at this point they would have that developed a little bit more.
For me, the concern is we underestimated the value of Kalen Ballage. I think the absence of a power running game it was huge. Considering if you got guys coming in containing off the defensive ends, you have to be able to run the ball up the middle. Because DeMario Richards a make-you-miss kind of guy. He's got some power behind him. And I know he added weight in the offseason, but I still think through and through he's faster than Kalen Ballage. He has better juke and skill moves than Kalen Ballage, in my opinion. Ballage bowled over Nick Kelly, his own center, in Colorado last year. I think the absence of Ballage was the concern because you don't realize what you lose when you don't have him in the game.
Well, the thing is also they didn't try to establish the inside run even without Ballage because the few times that DeMario Richard did go up the middle, up to that strength of that offensive line, he found some success. The thing is they just never kept going to that. They kept trying to bring the ball laterally on these sort of little dump passes, little bubble screens to Gump Hayes and to DJ Foster, trying to get the ball out wide in open space. The thing is, there was no open space because they knew that that was the only way they were going. They weren't testing vertically at all, and part of that's on the offensive line, not giving him a chance to throw, really. But it's tricky. There's a lot of things that can be fixed. Special teams can be fixed. They gave up the punt return touchdown. They had the roughing the punter penalty, but those things can be fixed. I think this stretch is a chance to do it, and part of it is when you're playing lesser opponents. Like this week, they play FCS opponent Cal Poly, which people get a lot of heat for. Playing an FCS opponent, even though they did schedule Texas A&M, they took a lot of heat for scheduling that.
Yeah,
so where do you stand on that?
Well, I love the quote from Doug Tamaro, actually. Yeah. I think somebody tweeted him, why would you even schedule A&M in the first place if you're not going to get a return game? Granted, that was a bad deal, but you wanted to try to get the game.
Todd Graham wants to be in Texas.
Exactly. And also, here's what Doug Tamaro said. Damned if you do, schedule good teams. Yep. Damned if you don't, schedule good teams. There's no right answer to this. You look at it, I think the Pac-12 is trying to be policeman too much. They really think that they have it right. Schedule at least one tough non-conference team and then let the rest of the season go. You look at USC, yes, they're opening to non-conference is easy, but they always have Notre Dame every year, and they're always going to compete, especially this year. That's always going to be a tough non-conference game. You look at it, I think ASU is okay for taking A&M, and you look at it, you need to stop being policeman. They are trying to get the SEC to go 9 conference games, stop scheduling cupcakes. And
Todd Graham wants that.
I know he wants that, but it's going to be hard to make it clear when everybody's doing it. It's one of those cultural things. It's going to take years to fix. And the playoff committee is going to have to be the ones that say, look, if you have more than 2 FCS opponents or, cupcakes on your schedule, you're going to lose a lot of consideration.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. The college football playoffs are really going to help a lot with that and trying to limit the FCS opponents that you have. I think Todd Graham's thing, he has his own playoff pitch that he wants to see the playoff. He wants conference champions to have an auto bid. He wants to be an 18 playoff with 3 wild cards. He wants to ensure that you can't schedule an FCS opponent. At least 50% of your non-conference schedule has to be against Power 5 conferences. He would rather see a 9-3 team that played a tough schedule make the playoff.
I would too.
Than say Florida State last year that didn't have a tough schedule.
Well, think about it or Ohio State, even the national champion, until they made it to the final.
Yeah, they proved it later on.
Well, let me ask you this then. With ASU now not getting a return game for A&M, is it really worth it to continue to try to schedule these SEC teams now? Considering you're still now 0-6, 0-7 against SEC teams all time, is it going to get better?
I mean, it's rare to even see a scheduling between the Pac-12 and SEC in general, and I think it was sort of unexpected for this to happen. You see the scheduled slate between ASU and LSU keep getting pushed back year after year because people don't want to see this happen in case the SEC loses.
Yeah.
If ASU wins this game, I think we're talking a different story about Pac-12 power shift from the SEC power shift.
I mean, it was the 2 best divisions in football, college football going at each other.
Arguably. But yes, I think that it's the 2 best divisions going head-to-head. Granted, Texas A&M didn't necessarily do as well in the SEC West last year, but they were still a quality team, bowl team. They won their bowl game, and ASU is a team that had a lot of momentum coming in, back-to-back 10-win seasons. It's a good thing to have happen at least once for ASU be on that national profile, and I think the big thing for Todd Graham, the main reason why he didn't mind a return game is because he wanted to play games in Texas, which he'll do the next 2 years. They'll be at UTSA next year and at Texas Tech the next year after that.
Well, the script is written now. It's time to embrace the grind. What are the expectations for the rest of the season?
I think the sky's not falling. I know it's been written a lot, but it's not. I mean, the Pac-12 slate is they're still perfectly clear to win the Pac-12 South, eventually the conference, if they do.
Right.
If
this
they do
had no
improve.
impact on that.
If they do improve. The thing is, they were exposed a lot. And like I said, those are issues that can be fixed, but it's up to now, these next 2 games, to get those fixed, because then it doesn't get easy after that. You have USC and UCLA back-to-back weeks, and then you get your conference slate.
I was saying this last year that this game, the exposure game, that you realized all your flaws, was the UCLA game last year.
Yeah, it was.
And it came at week 4 of the season after facing cupcakes to open up the season. Weber State, New Mexico, Colorado. You're gonna make it through that okay, and then to have UCLA. That's when you get, oh, geez, we do have some problems because these were not exposed by the lesser teams. I think this was that game for ASU. And I think now you're going to only see a steady climb. I really do think.
Well, yeah, now you have the 2 games to sort of correct those issues. Last year, they sort of caught a break. They didn't really catch a break because they had to go to USC the next weekend. And, of course, the Joe Murray happened, and that sort of set the tone for the rest of the season. But
well, they won't catch a break for the rest of the season after these 2 FCS games.
Yeah, you really won't. You play Colorado, and you have sort of your non-conference opponents, but really, even your non-conference games, or the easier non-conference games, are looking a bit tougher because you have Utah on the road and you have Wazoo on the road. And you never really know when you're Pac-12 on the road. Some crazy stuff happens. Pac-12 after dark.
Pac-12 after dark, and that's what's going to be this weekend. 8 o'clock kickoff. Oh, my gosh.
8 o'clock kickoff. It's football. We're back at Sun Devil Stadium.
Yeah.
It's a redone.
The new end zones look sweet.
It really looks sweet, especially because you have the dual end zone. Students can sort of see the players go out on the field through the Tillman Tunnel. It's gonna be unique, and I know the process isn't done yet. Ray Anderson said to be patient, but I'm excited to see the new stadium. And players who won't get a chance to play in that stadium, Christian Kirk and Kyle Allen. We saw him last
Christian Kirk has played in that stadium.
He has. He won titles
very well in that stadium.
He has, but they won't get a chance to play in that stadium anytime soon. But Christian Kirk and Kyle Allen, I think that's one of the storylines a lot of people hit on. I know I wrote about that after the game. It was just those guys, those 2 guys, the last 2 top prospects out of the state of Arizona, spurning ASU, going to Texas A&M. And it was one seemingly faded moment. ASU was coming back in the game, and it looked like they were finally starting to get going, and then Kyle Allen finds Christian Kirk on a bubble screen, and
that was a
game over.
Play call, though. Bringing a man in motion to the left, trips left. This had him alone, solo coverage, and the safeties have to be careful with the trips right, and they left them all alone. He was on an island.
And that sort of it's unfair to the defense, who really had a good game.
They
it's
really
just
did. 38 points does not show how well they played.
They played a great game, forced 3 turnovers. Thing is, they just let a couple of those explosive plays happen, and it happened at the wrong time for this one.
They also had 21 points off turnovers. But as far as Kyle Allen and Christian Kirk go, I think that game proved to Arizona high school recruits that you don't have to stay in state, that you can be a star anywhere else, and that's scary.
For a program that's getting so close to
They're
landing
very
these
close.
top prospects, especially when you look at guys this year, N'Keal Harry.
I was about to say N'Keal Harry and Ryan Kelly. Those are going to be huge.
They Chase Lucas.
Chase Lucas even. They all have those same kind of group of teams that are recruiting them. The UCLAs, the A&Ms, the UWs. They've got premier teams along with their in-state school.
I mean, you have landed some pretty big name in-state talents in the last couple of years, Bryce Perkins being one of them, but it takes one major step to really sort of change the balance, and I think ASU fans have been waiting for that major step for years to come. They thought it could be Kyle Allen, but he committed to Texas A&M. They thought it could be Christian Kirk, who apparently was wrestling his decision until a couple days before he announced. He went to A&M over ASU. Then you look at Chase Lucas and N'Keal Harry, guys you mentioned. Those are guys that have ASU in their top list of schools. It's just a matter of when they make their announcements and whether the dominoes fall afterwards. If the top guy commits to ASU, do the rest of them try to go and make it a local thing? If you do, then you have a chance, like the Miami Hurricanes in the 80s, to make something special. And if you do make something special...
They're three-stripe life too now.
They are three-stripe life, and it's a chance to make something special, but all it takes is one, and it sort of is the same thing with the A&M game. If they win that game, then you're thinking about things completely different, and you're thinking about a program a lot differently than you are right now.
Exactly. Now let's go, a guy that I talked about a little bit earlier, Kalen Ballage.
It's unfortunate. It really is. Having mono, of course, is never really something you wish upon anybody.
And the fact that it comes out publicly too.
It did come out publicly, and you sort of see a lot of people debating, well, when can he come back? When he do this? First of all, I'm just worried, want to make sure that he's going to be recovering all right. He's going to be the same person he was before, just for his sake.
You can lose a lot of weight on mono.
Oh yes, you can, and I think that's sort of an underrated aspect. He might be feeling better, but he still will not be in football shape to go out and actually perform well.
Yeah, exactly. I think I've had friends who have had mono, and it's funny because we would play golf a lot, and he couldn't play golf for the rest of the season for 3 months. That's just golf.
It changes your body.
It's everybody's different though.
Mm-hmm.
You hope that he's going to be okay. Who's going to fill his void though?
There's lots of guys. I mean, the one thing is I'd like to see Demario Richard get more carries in general. Just even with the Caleb Ballage healthy, I would have liked to see him get more carries. I think he didn't get the ball enough against Texas A&M. I don't think DJ Foster got the ball enough against Texas A&M.
And no one got the ball enough in Texas A&M.
Nobody did because
A&M got the ball too much. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Mike Berkovici on the ground got the ball too much.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think my first name I'm going to look at is Demario Richard. He's the obvious choice. I know that they try to get Gump Hayes involved against Texas A&M. Maybe you try to get him out in open space more, build his confidence a bit more. But the guy that you kind of hear coming up, and you're not entirely sure if he'll even get in the game this year, Jason Lewis. Yeah, he's the guy who, size-wise, he's bigger than Caleb Ballage. And he's a guy who physically has what it takes to come in right away and perform. The thing is, he just didn't report until Camp T, and he's sort of down the bottom rung of this deep running back group. And I don't know if you want to burn a red shirt right now, especially if you have Nick Ralston already playing.
Yeah. You got Ralston. I mean, you've already got... I mean, with running back being such a position where a red shirt would come in handy in case, something were to happen because it's such a physical, high-contact position. You don't have so much of a playbook to learn like a quarterback would or some certain safeties would. I think Lewis would be a great fit, but I do want to see some Ralston. I want to see some Brimhall, man.
Yeah, Jacob Brimhall. I think Cal Poly has a chance for him to sort of have a little bit of a breakout. We're gonna have a Brimhall sighting in that game. I think for sure. And I think if Jason Lewis does play, I don't think it'll be against Cal Poly or New Mexico. I think you want to make sure that you need him before you burn that red shirt.
Exactly.
I think they're going to be very cautious.
Just like they did with Manny Wilkins last year.
Yeah, they dressed him, but unless you need him, you're not going to put him out there.
Yeah.
You're not going to burn that red shirt.
Bingo. Let's go to the fun part now. This is what we're going to do, a new weekly thing here on Devils Debate, Pac-12 Pick'em. We're going to keep track of the entire season, see who has the better record at the end of it all. So, a full slate of games this week, all non-conference for Pac-12. We'll start with the game Friday night, Utah State at number 24 Utah. Who you got?
I got the Utes, man.
I do as well.
They had a good showing against Michigan in their first game. I think they're going to take the rivalry matchup. Utah State's had a good program the last couple of years. Just Utah is looking like a better and better program each and every year. And I think this year they could surprise a couple people.
And should also note, I'm going to have the Lions on here as well, but we're not going to be betting against them or anything. It's just straight up pick them. We're not going to do the lines because right now in non-conference play, some of these lines are ridiculous. Like this one right now, Oregon State at Michigan. Oregon State are 16-point underdogs against the Wolverines. And I also had Utah in that game.
I think that's a little bit high, but I do have Michigan in that game.
I do as well.
I think Coach Harbaugh is going to pick up his first win here. I don't think Oregon State's going to do anything that wows me in non-conference play. And I think Michigan has some pieces that they showed last week against Utah. They played them tough, and I think they picked up the win. I think they picked up the win. Yeah.
I feel bad for him, though. I mean, that's awesome.
He likes the name himself.
He embraces it. That's great.
That's good.
Sacramento State at Washington. There's actually no line for this game. Who you got? It's in Seattle.
I think UW. I think UW is a program that there's lots of questions around them, and they didn't look good last week, but
nobody looked good in that game.
Yeah, Chris Peterson's a good coach. I think they avoid the upset in this one.
UMass at Colorado. You were going back and forth on this one.
Colorado did not look good at all against Hawaii. I'll give them that. I did like this Colorado team a lot before the season. There's a lot of people I liked on that team, especially that wide receiving core. Nelson Spruce, Shea Field, and then I'm not sure how that's going to fit with Cephalufau at quarterback. He's looked good at times.
He's pretty good.
He's looked good at times, but he didn't look very good last week.
Yeah. Well, I got Colorado on that one.
I went back and forth on this one, but I'm picking Colorado.
They're 13-point favorites in that one.
Yeah.
Wazoo at Rutgers.
I'm going to go with the upset here. Both programs are in sort of a disarray. I know Wazoo lost last week against Portland State, but I think Mike Leach has a random high-scoring game in him, and I think they pick up the upset against Rutgers. I think Rutgers is sort of in a tough situation right now with Coach Flood as well, and with 5 players getting arrested and dismissed from the team. I think it's sort of the lesser of two evils here to pick Washington
Finally,
State.
Our first disagreement. I'm going with Rutgers here. I'm not backing the Pack on this one. Now the schedule starts getting a little harder, except for number 22, Arizona. They're at Nevada, 12-point favorites.
I think Arizona didn't necessarily look good last week. I think their defense struggled even with Scooby Wright in there.
They probably won't have Scooby Wright this week.
They won't have Scooby Wright this week, but I think U of A is too talented offensively, especially with Nick Wilson at running back, to really drop that game against Nevada. Even though Nevada has proven the last couple of years they could be a solid non-conference opponent that's not in the group of 5.
I'm also going U of A in that one. Now the widest spread in the Pac-12. Idaho at number 8 USC. 43-point favorites against Idaho.
I'm going with Idaho. Just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm going with USC.
That was easy.
USC.
Now here's the biggest non-conference game of the week. The only top 10 matchup of the week. Number 7 Oregon in East Lansing against number 5 Michigan State.
Can't wait till this game.
Oregon are actually 4-point dogs in this game.
I think that's the first time they've been dogs since 2011 against Stanford, and I think they're right on. I'm going Michigan State in this game. Vernon Adams looked really good. I think their defense showed a lot of holes against Eastern Washington. And I think that's something that people have been talking about. People have been talking about Vernon Adams. Can he be the next Marcus Mariota? No, he's his own quarterback, but he's also performed well in his first game. Matters defense. Can they stop anyone? And Michigan State's offense is underrated. Connor Cook is one heck of a quarterback, and this is a game I've been waiting for since last year, the first time these two played. And that was a great game then. I think it's going to be a better game now.
All right, last two. These are a little easier. UCF on the farm at Stanford.
I don't think Stanford's offense really has a showing like they did last week. I don't think you can do that 2 weeks in a row, even with how conservative their play calling was and how bad Kevin Hogan looked. I think they pick up the W against UCF.
Oh, I take UCF in that one. I really do. I don't think Northwestern was even that great. Stanford was really made me worried on offense. I'm going UCF, not because it's my dad's alma mater, but partially. Last one, UCLA at UNLV. UCLA 30-point favorites. They're 13 in the nation. Bruins in this one.
Chosen Rosen. Go Bruins.
Pac-12 player of the week as well offensively. 28 for 35. 351 yards in his debut and 3 touchdowns.
That's good, right?
That's very good. And I think this was a good first show. We're back.
It's solid.
It's only going to get better this year, too.
Yeah,
we got some stuff up our sleeve coming up in the next couple of weeks here. But with Fabian Ardaya, I'm Dominic Cotroneo. We'll see you Saturday at Sun Devils Stadium. Cal Poly Mustangs and the Arizona State Sun Devils back in the renovated Sun Devil Stadium. We'll see you next week. This is Devils Debate.